Tired of the sunset blues. That's when I met you. That rainy kiss at the bookstore cafe. That's when I knew you were for me. You want a lover that doesn't leave you straight. Well, baby, I'll make you a believer down by the bay. I'm shedding this shell for a new way. So let's launch the dove and make love. Renew an old romance and let's dance. Loving the sunset moons. That's where I met you. No more regret or losing bets. You're my queen without the mean. Stroll the beach at night to find a hidden wave. Time will only tell if we got love to save. Sails are blowing in the west winds out on the outer cave. Can't you hear me calling? Can't you hear me calling? Can't you hear me calling? Oh. So instead of the sunset blues, now I'm loving the sunset dunes with you. With you.
Well. Here we are back at Tiki Tim's Trop Rock Tribute Show. And I think we're here live.
Hey, Tim.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm not bad. I got one issue here. My last week's show is playing. All right, now that's out of there. So we got a great show here. I'm going to back up and put my view in full screen here. That's a first, Jim. I got to tell you, we never had an opening intro. Did it even work? Did you see it?
I got the chicka daka dakas real good there. Yes.
Did you sing along?
Oh, how can you not?
All right. So for anybody just wondering, I recently wrote that song, and Jim has been very complimentary and helpful with me trying to write that tune. And it goes chicka daka 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 da, and you got to sing along with it. So every show I'm opening with that song. That is my theme song from now on. That's enough on that. I'm pretty stoked and happy to have Mr. Jim O'Brien on the show today. Jim has a very long and storied history in so many different things. I'm not going to read his whole bio. I know I posted it, and people, I'm sure, checked it out there and stuff. So I'm going to incorporate a lot of that, into my questions and things like that. Of course, this is episode 2 of season 2 of Tiki Tim's Trop Rock Tributes. And we distribute this, just so people understand, to all the Trop Rock Parrot Head clubs around New England, also down in Florida, Tampa Bay, Key West, Western New York, and elsewhere. And they've been very kind, all those Parrot Head clubs, to post this show live and sometime and often as a rebroadcast. And so we do rebroadcast this. And if you see my island paradise going in and out, sorry, I'm not actually really in an island paradise. I'm here in my house, and that's a green screen coming in and out. Haven't mastered it yet, but I'm getting there. It's getting better every week. And so I'm just going to jump into the questions, Jim, because I have a lot of them. I mean, first off, how are you faring during COVID? I mean, it's been a tough year. It's been a year. It's been more than a year that we've all been.
Yeah, it's been a year for a lot of people. And I'm the kind of, you know me enough now, Tim, to know that I always look for what good comes out of anything. And because I'm an upbeat kind of person. And one of the things that, you know, I was stuck home like everybody else and did get to go to work a little bit, but during the day, but didn't, you know, wasn't playing a lot of music. And I'll tell you, the good thing for me was hooking up with the Island Castaways band out of COVID. And I don't think I would have even been looking at the ads if it wasn't for COVID. And I'm just really happy I saw that.
Well, it's awesome that you're on board. And of course, Joe Halava is a wonderful bass player. And I had to say that because he is. And he's actually a wonderful guy, too. We're blessed to have him. As we are everybody in the band, including, you know, Rick is actually on the show right now in the backdrop. He's not present with his video or audio, but he is in the Zoom session right now. Hi, Rick.
Hey, Rick.
Paul, I'm sure, is watching, and I'm sure Joe's there somewhere, too. They're all incredible musicians.
Yep, I'm here.
Nice.
I was muted.
He unmuted. So, Rick, chime in with your own questions, and you can undo your. Yeah,
That's why I'm here. Yeah.
Feel free to undo your video whenever. So, given the COVID, Jim, what's the like? How do you look at? What is your general view of like the music industry right now during COVID, climbing out of COVID?
Yeah, again, I think there's a lot of excitement going on in some ways. I mean, I miss very much the live playing in front of people, and even at work, because my day job is playing a different kind of music, but doing music, and we've had to limit by the state regulations what I can do and what I can't do. But, you know, I mean, I think it forced people to get very, very creative in a lot of ways. And this idea, I think it changed music an awful lot. I mean, I think you're going to be seeing an awful lot more of people using the internet to promote, not just to promote themselves, but to get out there to larger audiences. I mean, you as a teacher, you're reaching people you probably couldn't have before, because you can go across the country now. People can take virtual lessons. So virtual music is a new field. I mean, I'm obviously anxious to get back out in front of crowds, but I mean, I think, you know, musicians are kind of a resilient lot. They just kind of got out there and figured out how to make it happen, and they kept it going.
They are, and I mean, I one benefit of the show is I'm in touch with some singer-songwriters from around the country. Some are nationally touring. Very blessed to have them on the show. And they are starting to climb back in it. They're starting to get the gigs lined up again. They're starting to climb out of that winter doldrum that seemed to extend for the entire year. And so there's a lot of promising things ahead. Hopefully people can keep wearing those masks, and these variants that are out there don't spike us up all over again, and everything gets canceled. That's my greatest fear, really. So let's move on from COVID, because we all would love to, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
How does one become an avid multi-instrumentalist like you? Because you play, what do you play?
Oh, I play lots of
name
more than I list.
Okay, the give me the full list.
When I went to music school, I went for guitar. But the very first thing that I ever took lessons on, well, I started music lessons when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And the first things, like a lot of people, I took piano lessons and played keyboard early. When I got to, it's the typical story, you know, I got to about 10 or 11 and really wanted to play guitar, and started playing guitar and never looked back. and I loved it, and it led me. Music school led me to other instruments as well, mostly strings. I was originally studying to be a music teacher, a high school band teacher. It was kind of the dream in the 70s, and I had to take methods courses. So I had to take a strings course. I had to take a winds course. I had to take and the strings course got me onto. I mean, they handed us a violin, and I started fiddling, and it was so strange. You get this thing in your left and your right hand, that bow that you don't know what to do with. There were no frets on the neck. So at the same time, what I did was, since a mandolin is tuned the same as violin, I picked up the mandolin and I could play it the way I normally played, and then just kind of get the muscle reaction out of my fingers to go up to the fiddle. So I mean, I played both of those. I played a little bit of banjo. I still, although I definitely won't admit in front of Rick being on this call, but I still play keys a little bit once in a while. Not in front of people who can really play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rick, don't Zoom bomb us, okay? Please.
So I mean, I think it's music is music, and so I've always done vocals. I've always had some kind of instrument. I've got to have something in my hands. I've got to be making music. That's, I've told a lot of people from very early on. It's not a hobby. It's not a job. It's me, and that's what I got to do. And I'm always going to be doing it.
All right. Was guitar your first love then? Your first instrument, guitar?
I think music in itself was. I think creativity was. I mean, I grew up in a household. My mom was an artist, and as a kid, we'd travel the art show circuits. I'd hang paintings with the best of them on the art show. My dad would drive. My brother and I would hang up the paintings and go. And I was always surrounded with all these creative people. We'd be at these big art fairs, and my mom, dad hung around with this artistic community that I had to feel creative, and I didn't get the drawing gene or the painting gene from my mom. She was also an excellent musician, but I got the artist. What I think is, I get that artist temperament, that artist soul. It has to create, and so instead of using brushes and paints, I'm painting with words and notes. And from very early on, I knew that. I mean, I can honestly say, as a kid, 7, 8 years old, I knew that I wanted to do music. It was never a second choice.
All right. So what happened?
I had a very simple. Well, go ahead. What?
You went from having this creative genius in yourself, this passion for music.
I like passion better than genius.
Right.
Yeah.
you wanted to be a band director. You were playing multiple instruments. You had all this inspiration in music, and then you went to work for Old Sturbridge Village.
I did.
Why?
Okay, so when I was in college in the mid '70s, and I was I was studying music, I was pretty close to finishing the ed part of my degree, and Proposition 2.5 came into Massachusetts at that point, that was cutting basically all the arts programs and the music programs out of schools. And I just didn't think I'd ever be, have an opportunity to teach. So at that point, I decided that I was going to switch from a music ed degree to a music performance degree. So, I mean, I got out with a music performance degree. I was going through college. I was gigging 3-4 nights a week. Thought I had the world, I had it all. I was put myself through school playing, or playing these nights, and I just wanted to play. I had started writing. I probably wrote my first song when I was maybe 13 years old, 12, 13 years old, and I'd been writing a lot, and I was really prolific at that time too. I was writing an awful lot at that point, and just wanted to get out there. I don't think I ever had those big dreams of getting so big. I just wanted to be able to present my music.
All right. Do you regret that decision?
The teaching?
Not going into music.
Nah, I mean, I have over the years.
I know it's a tough question.
I'll tell you, the closest I ever came to it was a few years ago, when at Old Sturbridge Village, where my day job, as you said, was, and we opened the charter school on site. They kind of wanted me to be the music teacher, and I wasn't certified. And at that point, at my age, I didn't really want to go back to school at that point. That was probably one of the few times I kind of wish I had done it. I mean, I've given lessons over the years, like lots of musicians have done, through stores, and I did my own studio teaching for a while, and I've done some private stuff in school. So I always felt like I've dabbled at both of it. But no, I feel, you used the word, and I think it is. I feel blessed in the fact that I walked out with a music performance degree, went to Old Sturbridge Village for a summer job, just to work in the shops. Because I was gigging out at night. That's what I thought I'd do. And I wasn't there very long, and I had the opportunity to start overseeing all their music and performance programs. And I took it. I took that job. I've been there almost 41 years. I never looked back. It opened up a whole new music. I didn't get to use the songs I was writing there, but it opened up a whole avenue to me of old time and the folk stuff. Because it's the 70s. I was big into singer-songwriter stuff, and it just really opened up a chance for me to play. It's really what pushed me to learn fiddle more, and to be more period appropriate for them. And over the years, I've been lucky. I managed all of their big programs. Now oversee, I'm one of the directors. But it's still the passion. It's still about. If you ask me what I am, I'm a musician. I write. No question.
Don't get me going on the Massachusetts State teacher certification process, because I could spend another 2 hours lamenting that. You would have been the perfect OSV charter school music director.
I actually filled in for a year without the license. I did help. I have helped out there.
Of course you did. So let's move on. As you said, you've performed all over the place since 1974. You've really led two lives career-wise, as a musician, as a historian, as a promoter in marketing, and historical reenactment. But music-wise, take us on a journey back to some of your most memorable gigs. I know we're dipping back in the reservoir, but
I can remember the first real steady paying gig. It's almost funny. I was in high school. I was probably a junior or senior in high school, and I was playing at a little restaurant in town. And it was little. It probably had 15 seats, 20 seats. And I was there a couple nights a week. No sound system. I would go in with two guitars because I felt like I had to have a second guitar. So I'd pick a 6-string and a 12-string with me. A couple of stands to put them on. I had to bring my own stool in because they weren't going to give me one of their stools because that was one of the seats and I had to set up in this corner. And there was a cigarette machine right next to me that I'd put my stuff up on top. This is the 70s, my stuff on top of. And the stool was right in front of the ladies' room door. And I'll never forget, it was like the first job. But anytime somebody wanted to use the bathroom, the ladies, I'd have to get up off the stool. And when they'd want to come out, they'd knock on the door and I'd get up in mid-song. It was that way to start. And I played lots of bars, lots of different places. And then with the historic music, I've been able to travel for the village, but representing Massachusetts. I've literally been able to go all over the place. I've played New York City. I've played in the Capitol down in Washington. The best gig I've ever had. The biggest festival, the best thing. And there were about 20 of us from Massachusetts that got to go. When Virgin Atlantic Airlines first came into Boston and landed there, they threw a party in one of the big hotels. It was the Park Plaza, one of the big ones. And Richard Branson himself, the owner of Virgin's, at this party. And I've got to tell you, he's everything you ever see on TV. He's talking to everybody, talking to all of us. He had a good time and he enjoyed the party so much he decided he wanted to throw the equivalent over in England. So he actually contacted some of us from the state that had been playing. And they flew us over to England, first class, Virgin Atlantic. I played in a day of New England and Old England at a festival out there. Those are things that, it was huge in that sense that there were people all day long. It was a great experience. I've done a lot of traveling for the village to promote the village. For a while there, I would regularly go out. It was a fun gig. I'd play Faneuil Hall for a while. I'd play, all sorts of stuff. And then, I've been fortunate enough to play things like the Big E and not necessarily for the village. In my modern music, I play Big E and Woodstock Fair and some of the bigger fairs. Lots of clubs and restaurants. One time I actually tried counting how many places I probably appeared. It's well I mean, I lost count. It's in the hundreds places
Wow.
I wanted to play.
Well, you answered like several of my next
Oh,
questions.
sorry about that.
Thanks a lot.
You should know me by now. I like to talk, Tim.
No, that's good. And one of the biggest tricks of the trade in journalism is to shut up and just let your guest answer. Well, you mentioned in your bio that you did a lot of TV and radio. I don't know if you want to chime in there. That's
Again, a lot of that's been from Massachusetts promoting stuff. I've been able to. I've performed on, Morning America, Today's Show. I've been on. I mean, again, the list is so long. I've been on things for Discovery Channel, for Travel Channel, for PBS, for I've done live. I've done, obviously recorded. Again, long list, a lot of fun. Radio, one of my favorite things I got to do. And it was actually not music, but it's performance. It was actually traditional storytelling, and I got to do a featured piece on NPR, which I love being able to do. That was cool.
I was going to ask you about storytelling,
Yeah.
And I'm going to get into with the songwriting process and the creative process of writing songs in a minute. But tell me more about storytelling, because that really piqued my interest. Why do you love that? How did you get good at that?
I mean, I think what's a performance? So, I mean, if you're performing, and storytelling, I think there is something to people. There are some people who are natural storytellers. I think stories have always captured me. I was really fortunate. I grew up in a two-family house where we lived on the first floor, and my grandparents lived on the second floor, and I had a great grandmother on the second floor with my grandparents. There were 4 generations in the house, and it wasn't like a two-family house. We always had all our meals together. We always spent a lot of time. And my grandfather on that side, and I can still remember sitting down, Sunday dinners and just listening to him telling stories and it captivated me young. That I could just listen to him forever, ever and ever. And so, I mean, I think it's all part of the creativity. It's not just telling the story; it's how you tell that story and how you dress it up. I mean, you're a journalist, you can take a little bit of license. Obviously, you doctor it up. It's presentational style. But yeah, I think it goes hand in hand with music, especially when I was doing the old tape time music, because and when I was in school, I really did have a passion also for folklore and the traditions and those things. So it did make sense to go with storytelling too. So I was hanging around with some guys who were really good storytellers and just started picking it up. And
Where did you grow up?
Right in the same town I live in now. I'm Central Mass. I'm Southbridge all the way. I've lived here my entire life. I shouldn't say that. For 1 year, while we were waiting to buy the house we're in now, my wife and I, we actually moved. There was a year between living in. She's not from Southbridge, but originally. But there was a year that we lived in Holland because we needed a place between our first place and the one we were buying. And I still consider myself lifelong Southbridge because when I was living in Holland, I still had a Southbridge zip code. So my mail was still coming to a Southbridge zip code. I'm Southbridge all my life, and it was only a year. I didn't live.
Wow, it's a great town. Tell me a story, Jim. Tell me a story. Tell all the viewers a story.
I mean, I think everything is a story, and most of them are too long, Tim. When I get going, you don't really want me to go into a whole story. But I mean, it's interesting because I think storytelling. I'm not getting out of telling this story, but I'm going to bring you on to where I want to talk about. Is storytelling can play a big part in the songwriting process, which you want to talk about. And I think that's you've seen it, like the other guys in the band, and I've written it many times. I'm a word guy. I love writing lyric and words, and they are stories. A lot of them are stories.
All right, that's fair. So our fans will have to wait and see what those stories are.
Yeah, and at some point I will tell you, but it would take the whole show for me to tell you a story.
No, that's fine. You've declined my question, and that's a smooth professional move right there. Let's move on. So you mentioned you've written hundreds of original songs. How many different like musical genres have you written in? Like you're in trop rock right now, but
Oh, absolutely.
you've done a lot of folk.
A lot of folk.
What
a
else have you
lot-
done?
I've done primarily, you know, I hate to take this, but I watched your show last week with Scott, and he's the same thing. But I come out of the singer-songwriter time, so a lot of it was absolutely that. It's folk. It was that soft side from the guitar singer-songwriters of the '70s. I wrote an awful lot like that. I mean, I've always had trop rock, but without. Before I knew it was trop rock, I was writing beach songs. Not Beach Boys songs, but beach songs. You know, we grew up again. My family when we often were spent a lot of time out on the Cape and at the beach in the summers. And I mean, I always heard my parents would always joke when they were much younger than I'm even now. They'd talk about having the day where they could go off to some island and just be by themselves. You know, that's it. This was the dream. And I heard that dream since I was a kid. I didn't know it was trop rock.
Wait
you
a
know?
minute.
And
Hold on. So your parents were island trop rockers.
in their own way. Yeah, I think so. My mom, a lot of her paintings were seascapes. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I always carried that with me. So I was writing some of those songs. You know, I absolutely remember. I mean, I think my first trop rock before it was trop rock, but I remember when Come Monday, when Buffett's Come Monday hit the radio and loving it. And then I had one of my brother's friends was going to school out in the Midwest, and he was a guitar player. And when he'd come to visit my brother, I'd end up sitting playing guitar with him. And he started telling me about Buffett, and I went out and got white sports coat and a pink crustacean. I've never looked back. I mean, this was long before there were parrot heads or any of that. I had to have every single album I had, and then as it progressed, I had to have every book he ever wrote. If it's a Buffett thing, I've got to have it. And it spoke to me because of the way I was brought up, and that whole thing. It just really hit. And then, of course, you start listening to him. You start branching off to the other trop rock writers. It's such a rich field. It's just growing so much now. I don't feel like I'm new. It's new to me. I've been writing in it a lot, but certainly now, it's what caught me in the ad when the Island Castaways. I was not looking for another project during COVID at that point. I had my hand in a bunch of stuff that was going on, and I was alone one week. My wife was up babysitting our grandkids, and I was going through just to see what musicians in the area were doing on Craigslist, and I came across that ad. That Joe had put up, and or whoever, I assume it was Joe, because and totally unlike me, because I'd seen you guys play. I didn't know any of you guys, but I'd seen you. I'd gone to the Facebook page, and I'm like, this just sounds too fun. And normally I would be looking at an ad, and I'd be thinking, should I answer? Should I not answer? Should I answer? And I'd miss nothing. That's how I am, and I didn't want to miss it. So I mean, the minute I read the ad, I sent to Joe, and Joe called me within 5 minutes. And yeah, it was meant to happen. I was just really happy.
He knew. Joe's probably the best bass player in New England. And
he is.
So
I got to tell you, and
he knows good talent.
This isn't kissing up to you or Rick being on the show, right? With Rick here, and if Paul's listening to it. I walked in that night not knowing what to expect. But I knew it was going to be okay because earlier in the day, Joe had texted me and said, "You're coming out tonight." And I knew you guys were going to be checking me out. But he just said, "Just come and have fun." And I knew right away, it was going to be okay. And then I pulled in. I think you were the first one I saw before we went in at the loading area. And I went in, and you guys made me feel just so welcome. I mean, I was just honored you guys asked me to come back. And not only the level, I've played with a lot of musicians over the years, and the level of musicianship in this band is just really strong. And I just really enjoy that. And on top of that, you're four of the nicest guys anybody could meet. I felt like I've known you guys since I was a kid, right off the bat. So very, very comfortable situation. You just don't, I mean, people who don't play in bands, they don't get that that's an important thing. Um, yeah, just hit right off the bat.
Wow. Well, thank you. That's very, very kind of you. And
I very
um,
sincere,
you
very
know, I want to dial back to something you just mentioned,
sure.
like 30 seconds, a minute ago. You talk about your love affair with Jimmy Buffett and some of the other major trop rock influences. How have they inspired you over the years? You know a lot about Jimmy.
Oh, I do. I actually, that was one of the funny things, and I'm not diverting your question. I came home after one of the nights after, I think it was almost one of the first times I was hanging out with you guys. And I told Mary, my wife, I said, I said, I think I've met my match, meaning Paul. I said, I think he knows more, as much or more about Buffett than me. She doesn't believe that's possible. So she's going to have to meet Paul to see this, that it's really true. Because, I mean, Mary and my friends often joke that I'm obsessed with Buffett. I think just something about him just resonated so much to me. I don't know what it was at all, but he spoke to me, he talked to me. And then you start listening. I remember the first time, I mean, I was so Buffett. I remember the first time I heard Kenny Chesney's stuff that sounded Buffett-like. And I was almost insulted that he was trying to rip off Buffett's thing. But now I love his stuff. And then, you start with YouTube, places like that. You can get on there and you can watch. I found Howard Livingston. I found Sonny Jim. I found, Tom Shepard. I found, there's just so much out there. And these guys are just incredible that, it really is a lifestyle. That it's not just music. It's definitely a genre that it really is just encompasses what I want. It's the easiest way to say it.
Sonny Jim. We had Sonny Jim on the show last year. He was an incredible interview, and I got to play some drums on some of his songs, which was quite an honor, I got to tell you, which is actually up on my website. We have all the episodes from.
Well, I've gone back and watched them several times myself.
We're developing a library of Q&A. So let me get back into songwriting a little bit. Do you write when you approach a song, right, and you're thinking about a song? Do you write the lyrics first or the guitar riff first?
I'm almost 100%, almost 99.9%, and I think I'm different than a lot of people. I'm a word guy. I start with the lyrics. I get an idea, I get the story, and then from there, I let the story tell me what the music's got to do. So I almost always, I mean, the exception, and it's not songwriting, but it's definitely writing music. I mean, I've also written a lot of fiddle tunes. Obviously, those don't have words, so those music comes first. But I like the words to actually drive the music. In my case, to me, you guys hear it all the time. I'm a word guy. That's what I am.
Did you? You mentioned fiddle songs. Are your songs published somewhere? Where can our viewers go to listen to your music over the years?
Come to an Island Castaways band show. You'll hear a little, because we're doing some of these things as well as our, and we got a lot of shows coming. No, I mean, simple answer is most of them. I have played full shows of my stuff. Most of the time when I'm playing out, I'll slip a song in or two. As Rick, who's on, often tells us at rehearsals, if you're going to be an originals band, you can play it yourself for a while, because people want to hear what they know till you get known. So, I mean, I've always played them. I've tried to find those times where I can go out and do those shows for myself, the kind of mental health gigs for me. I haven't published. I mean, they're obviously all written down. They're all out there. And someday, it's a good project to get into. I mean,
all right. So all the hundreds of songs that you've written are collectively in your head or written on paper or recorded?
Yeah, and I've recorded them for myself. I haven't published them, but I've recorded them down. Yeah.
Well, I mean, hearing
real scratch recordings, yeah.
Hearing a couple of your originals already, newer ones. Why haven't you published your own songs before?
I don't have a good answer for you. I mean, I have no good answer. But I'll tell you that the best thing, having heard, you're hearing a lot of the ones you're hearing are new stuff. And I am just totally amazed because I mentioned earlier, when I was in my, college years, around that point, I was writing constantly. At the end of high school, college, writing constantly. And then it got less and less. Mainly, I don't know, life comes along, I graduated, got a job, got married, had kids. I was still playing, but I wasn't writing as much. And here and there. And about 3 years ago now, I remember it was, we were going down. I know you've heard this story, but not everyone has. There were about a dozen of us meeting in Key West for a group 60th birthday party. And on the plane in, a lyric started coming. And I started writing. It wasn't my first trip to Key West, but this song that we now call Kayaweso, that I always call Return to Kayaweso, because it just started coming. And when we got there, I got to the room, and over the next, I finished the lyric within a short time. And it was like, like all of a sudden somebody opened the faucet. I could write again, and I hadn't been for a while. Still wasn't doing a lot. Then I got surrounded with you guys in September, and just the energy off of all of you and the flow is just. I was looking the other night, and I couldn't believe, with all our back and forths and texts and the words. Since September, when I joined up with the band, I've come up with 10 songs, which
Wow.
I'm back to writing like I did when I was 20. And a lot of them, and it's funny because I always, for the most part, I used to write alone. And now it really is, and I'm enjoying the hell out of this. Like when we'll all be talking and texting back and forth, and ideas go back and forth, and Joe will throw out a random lyric, and next thing you know, so a lot of these songs, they're really co-writes that, I get the idea, or as Joe calls it, the mind melding is happening. And it's just, he'll give me an inspiration for a couple of lines, or a couple of cases he's give me a chorus, and then I just write the story around it. And same thing with Paul. And one of the ones that we're going to be doing this year when we're playing Adjust the Sails is one of mine that I didn't really like. I felt like the tune was missing something. I liked the lyrics, but I didn't like the tune I had come up with was missing something. And Paul just found that one passing chord that I didn't have in there that needed, and Adjust the Sails just all of a sudden clicked. And to me, again, this is not the part I love the most about that song. It brings a smile to my face. It's the ending, your big drum ending on that one. I get all excited every time I hear that, when we hit the stops and you do your two last fills. And so that song was one of the first ones that I wrote once I got to the band. And it was interesting because we were going back and forth. And it was one night, texts were coming, and I think Joe had sent the text to all of us about, dreaming about what was going to happen to this version of the band, the Island Castaways. And then you answered him. I can remember this now, going back to my text. I love it when you dream, Joe. And I think my answer to that text was, and what's great about dreams is, you've always got them, and nobody can steal them unless you let them. And then Joe said, "Let's create," was the next text. And I came up with the chorus, the lyric to the chorus of Adjust the Sails. And then it was like, okay, now I got to come up with verses. And it all started, but that idea was out of a conversation we all had. And that's what's been happening since September, which to me is just, incredible.
Yeah, you and Joe in particular have been exchanging lyrical ideas back and forth, and it grows before your eyes. It really does. Answer me this, and thanks for the kudos on that drum part, or the drum
I love that.
Well, sometimes I hit it and sometimes it sucks, but you either hit it right or you don't. And if you don't hit it right, Joe will give you that look. So
But when you
Um,
do hit it right, and I'm looking over at Paul, he's smiling.
oh, he is. Well, I don't see Paul much anymore because he like plays 35 feet away from me. So,
But yeah, and you're staring at all our backs if we lined up on stage. But anyway,
um, so what was your tough question though? What was your favorite song you've ever written?
it probably is not a trop rock song. I mean, I honestly think it's one I wrote probably back in the '70s.
Okay,
Um,
you got a guitar behind you.
I do.
Play me,
I'll give you a little bit because my
play
songs.
me 16 bars.
I'll give you just a little bit because I know, and again, I know Rick often says, my songs go long because I'm a word guy, and but this is, you know, I this is one back from probably about maybe around '78. I wrote this somewhere around there.
What's
I
it
was
called?
listening to a lot. I was listening to a lot of Jerry Jeff Walker at that point, and I always loved Bojangles and thought, I need that kind of version. And so I thought about some of the characters I'd met in my life, come across in my life, and came up with this guy called Hobo Bill. I love the song Hobo Hobo Bill lived up on the hill by the rusty old railroad tracks. About once a year, Bill would appear with his flask and a traveling sack. Often in spring, you might hear his voice ring, singing an old hobo song. His old mandolin and a pint of bad gin kept him going the whole night long. Where are you now, Hobo Bill? Have you found that better hill? Have you quit doing time? Walking down the line, Oh, Hobo Bill, you're a friend of mine. So it goes on, and the story, because you wanted a story. The story goes, I went up in the songwriter in the story was up on the hill, and one day, he had obviously made a friendship with Bill, and one day he goes up there and he finds the mandolin and a note, and the note is basically from one of old Bill's friends who says, sorry to say, but Bill passed, and in his last words, he told me to give you this old mandolin, and would you, every time you play it, would you kindly please just think of him, and his advice goes in. So it goes on for a long time, but it's a song that speaks to me. I don't know why that's my favorite, but it is.
Wow, that was incredible. I got to tell you, we've never had a guest on the show that actually played before live, and so you're the first. That was a treat, man.
I'm game for anything.
That was awesome. Well, I mean, you already talked about the gig with the Island Castaways band, but before that, you've had some incantations of bands and duets and solo things. And what stands out for you with that past history before the Island Castaways band?
I mean, I the two biggest, because I played wedding bands, kind of like Rick has done this. I played, I'm willing to do anything. I mean, it was a lot of the solo work, and then for a lot of years, for about 20 plus years, I was in a duo with a very close friend, and we were called Woodspell, and we were doing a lot of the singer-songwriter stuff, and we were playing a lot, and it was a good arrangement, and we did that for a long time. But we both still played solo. I mean, ended up going different directions, but the fun part about the band is, when you're playing solo up there, you got nobody to lean on. It's all you. You're carrying that whole thing, and it's fun to be able to play off of somebody else. I mean, I obviously don't want to get you mad, but I've done the bit that a lot of the trop rock people done. I've played with with drum machines and backing tracks and that stuff to fill it up. It's not the same thing. You can get the best ones out there. It's not the same thing as playing with other people. I mean, when I'm in rehearsals, you know, when we're together as the Castaways, and I'm playing a song, and all of a sudden Paul puts in these nice little second guitar part licks that I'll text him. You know, sometimes when we do a song, like, give me some pretty licks here. He's incredible at that. Joe keeping the bottom. So I love listening to Rick when we're not practicing, and all of a sudden he goes into what I like called grown-up chords, and he starts playing his jazz stuff on the keyboard. I feel like I'm in a cocktail piano, but I love it. I'm gonna jump in and start playing over with him. There's just great musicianship in the band and fueling of each other and that support of each other. I'm like I said, I didn't know how much I missed it till I got back with you guys in September and how much I needed it.
All right. Well, you know, we usually run around 45 minutes on the show, and we're running over. Luckily, I have a paid Zoom account, or they would have already canceled me out.
Booted.
We would have been booted. The show would have been over. It's been a great interview. I always end with a couple of key questions. Just a quick promo before we end. Next week, I'm in studio, and so we're going to try to do a live behind-the-scenes show, depending on how we do in the studio. And so time will tell how next week's show goes. But I will say that Mr. Steve Coretta of Changes in Latitude Band has agreed to be on the show, and he'll be the week after on April 14th. Just a teaser. And we're trying to move the dime around New England, around the country, and so it's something to look forward to with Steve being on the show. So, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Give me some advice. I'm a young guitarist. I just graduated from Berkeley, or even better, I didn't go to Berkeley. I went for 2 semesters. I quit because I'm a great guitarist and a songwriter, and I decided to hit the road solo or with my band. What advice do you have for me?
You gotta do whatever it takes to keep that passion. You gotta be true to yourself. I mean, I think a lot of times people who are writing, people who are playing, just try and fit a mold, and you know they see whatever the hot thing is, and that's what they want to do. And I honestly believe that you just got to come to terms with what you are. You're not making music for anybody but yourself in that sense. So you just want to get out there, remember who you are. You might stumble into something that you don't know, like historical music, which I would never have thought was going to give me a livelihood to keep me going, so that I could keep going with what I love. And just be true and don't do it. And also be a lifelong learner. And that's another thing I love about this band, because I think we've all got that. Nobody gets so cocky that, you know, I mean, we all know we can get better. We all know that, you know, there's so much more out there you can learn, so much more out there you can strive for. You don't settle. And I've played with too many people who just settle like that. And that frustrates me, you know. I've often told people, when I get so cocky that I think I'm the best there is, because I know that there's so much more I could do. Let me know, because that's when it's time to stop. I mean, I think you got to be true to yourself, be a lifelong learner with the music, and find a way to. I mean, I think if you please yourself that way, you're going to please others. I think it happens that way. I really do.
Well, Mr. Jim O'Brien, we thank you for being on the show. Tiki Tim's Trop Rock Tributes. Again, the show airs usually every Wednesday evening, weekly, during the spring and summer into early fall months, and then we don't do anything in the winter. But it's been a blessing to have you on. I'll see you.
Thank you, Tim. I've enjoyed it as well.
It's been great. We'll see you soon. And for everybody out there, just keep on living.